That's like down in Surrey.
All right. What's up, everyone? This is the Fraser LeVay podcast, and we are back with Uncle Blaiso. Our weekly segment got postponed because I had Wi-Fi issues. We had a couple busy weeks over the holidays, but we can't miss. We're going to the Super Bowl. We just had the playoffs, so I think we got to do a little playoff roundup. Some
Yeah,
quick info we missed. But I mean, do we jump right into the
that's a
elephant
long
in the
list.
room? It is a long list. The elephant in the room. Blaise and I argue daily. He is a Patriots fan who's on the side of Mahomes gets too much love.
Hold on,
I
hold on, hold
I'm a
on.
Mahomes apologist, so I don't care.
That's putting it mildly.
I don't
For
care.
the
You have all the
record,
love he
for
wants.
the record, for the record, that's not. I'm not letting you just take this. It's not because I'm a Patriots fan. It's because I'm a football fan, and I'm
Okay.
also a huge Mahomes fan. You know this. I think he's one of the greatest football players I've ever seen. So, don't be
uh,
starting to paint this too much in one direction. Oh,
um,
drop your phone.
yeah. So it's funny. We were just texting about it where we've talked about this all year that they don't spot the ball. The NFL doesn't spot the ball correctly. We don't know what a catch
Yeah,
is. We don't know what a fumble forward is. We don't know
yeah,
why the refs are all can be like over 60 years old and not have good eyesight. And it comes down like if we do think the league is fixed, this is a perfect example because now it's like, aha, they don't want the ball to be spotted correctly. For if you believe that the NFL hinges one way here and there, whether it's for Mahomes, whether it's for Brady, this is a perfect example of how
yeah.
you can do it by being like, you know what? The spot's the spot. We've got a 7-year-old dude with a chain. He's coming in to show you where it is.
You know what though? Before we dive too much into it, I've heard so much like people just chirping. They're like, we could put a man on the moon. We can instantly mark spots, but we're marking the ball with these two old dudes holding a chain. I'm like, I feel bad for the old guys. Like, all they're doing is just like they're just a chain gang. They have no say in
Yeah.
anything. It's the guys who mark the ball that are actually having the decisions. But
Uh,
you couldn't be more right. Like it's a you know multi-billion-dollar industry, and we can't even figure out where the ball's supposed to be. It's it's not right, and you're right. It comes to fruition in a case like this where there's already so much noise about the favoritism or whatever we're calling it. Whatever,
uh,
like the Chiefs are the best team, but they are also getting all the calls, and this does
yeah.
not help that. This does not help that cause.
Also, a multi-billion-dollar company sponsored by FanDuel. Let's also put that in there.
Yes, right. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
And and I even texted Blaze before the week. I was like, I read a stat where 79% of the betting line money was on the Bills. So it's
Yeah,
like if we again all these things that we think, a little favoritism for the Chiefs. Now we've also got the NFL sponsor will make 79% more money if the Chiefs win.
yeah. It's wild. It's wild. And you and I obviously are in such disagreement on this, but it just happens too much now for me to think it's a coincidence. I just it's and yeah, you make the point often that the top teams get more calls because they're just better,
Hmm.
and that's the way that football works, and that's true.
Hmm.
But this is getting ridiculous now, and the noise is not just it's not Chiefs haters. It's everywhere. Like
Hmm.
I was on Sirius on Monday, and every channel I turned to, except NFL Network, because I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to talk about it, but like ESPN, NBC Sports, Pro Football Talk, Mad Dog Radio, whatever it is, the topic was all the same. It was all the officiating and all the terrible calls, and it sucks because it was a great football game, and like I wish those teams played a best of seven. It's
Hmm.
tremendous TV every time, but yeah, it's gotten to the point now where you can't, other than Chiefs fans and you
And
can't
me.
deny it's happening. You can't deny it's happening. It's there, and it's just NFL's a business, and they know what makes money. And I'm not going to go as far as to say the games are fixed, but there's certainly nudges being pushed in some directions at times. It's impossible to look at it now and not see that.
And for those of us who think it could be Patriots fans forgetting, I want to know when we saw it with the Patriots, they were the feel good story, Brady out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, like this switch happened where everyone hated them. When did that happen? Do you remember what was there like a moment? Was it that snow game for the Patriots? Because this year is definitely like the dark side year for the Chiefs. When did that
No,
happen?
I think it was later. I think it was around the same time. I think once you win one or two, I think it's kind of a cool story. Then you win
Mhm,
three, and you're just there all the time. And I think it's
mhm,
right around the same stage where it's at with the Chiefs. That it's like,
mhm.
okay, like we're tired of seeing it,
uh,
and it's not like I said, it's not just Patriots fans. It's every franchise
mm,
right now, or their
yeah.
fan base. Um, it's unique up here, right? Because like I mean, obviously you're somewhere else now, but you've lived in areas where you're centralized to a team, and everyone's either uh,
Mhm,
if you're in Nashville, everyone's a Titans fan, or if you're in India, everyone's a Colts fan, whatever it
mm,
was. Here, like we have a 16 team fantasy team league, and I think there's 12 teams that have fans on it, and it's like without
mhm.
fail, every single one of them is tired of it. But you're right, every single one of them back then was also tired of the Patriots winning all the time. So
uh,
it's I think it just becomes fatigue seeing it, and
mhm,
as much as like I love watching greatness, I love watching Mahomes. He's an absolute just nightmare to play against,
mhm.
and but when you see these, if these calls weren't happening, I don't think I'd be as bothered by it. But
Yeah.
that's the part that pisses me off, and it more pisses me off as an official, not obviously in at the NFL level, but they're the biggest league, and they have the worst officiating, and they have part time officials, like they're not even full
uh,
time officials, and it's like so they don't give a shit about their officials and about putting a good product on the field because they're at the point now. It's like, well, people are talking about us all the time, whether it's how great the game
mhm.
was or how bad the fishing, where they're talking NFL, and that's in their eyes good for business. So that's the part that pisses me off. I think the most is that just they're they're it's just tough to watch.
Uh, well, I think do we also want to take a step further into the things are nudged, fixed a little bit, where it's like you take the WWE, the greatest marketer, one of the greatest marketer in sports entertainment history. You need a bad guy. You look at the NBA right
Yeah,
now, and one of the big reasons that they say rankings are down for the NBA is there's no American that they care about. LeBron's on the way out, Steph's on the way out. Right now, the best players are European. So the NBA is
or
enormous around
Canadian,
the world.
or Canadian.
Yeah, we're Canadian. Yeah, exactly. I should have just let off
S
with the best player is Canadian. Sorry.
yes,
That was a
SGA, right?
Freud.
SG, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
A Freudian slip by me. But yeah, so like the entire world basketball is as big as it's ever been, but in the US it's dipping a little bit the last year because they don't have anyone to love or hate, which LeBron is that polarizing figure. So if you
yeah.
think things are fixed, it's like, you know what? The NFL sees, you know what? You need a polarizing team. You need someone that everyone's either going to love or hate. So let's add in Taylor Swift and fuck it up even more.
Yeah, to me, I think that's a huge part of it. I'm
Mm,
not kidding. Like whether they win or not in the Super Bowl, I don't think that it matters. It's getting them to the game. Like I'd love to know the number of the number of viewers that was increased last year by Taylor being there. Because I can
yeah.
tell you this, we have a huge Super Bowl party every year at the guy's house, and
Mm,
it's there's people everywhere. The wives come, the kids come, and the last 10 years, it'd be like all the dudes are watching. The wives are kind of half pay. I don't want to stereotype, but they're like
mm,
half-ass pay attention, half-ass drinking wine, excited for the halftime show usually because it's someone that they like. Last year, because Taylor Swift was there, they
mm.
were literally all watching the game, and most of them was just excited to see when she was going to be on the screen. So, like, I'm not even exaggerating this, and
Yeah.
girls too. It's those eyeballs are what the NFL wants. So, getting them in the game,
Mm,
there's no doubt in my mind that there's nudges that happen, and
yeah.
they don't need it. Like I'm not saying that's the Bills had chances, but it's impossible to look at it and say it's not happening.
Yeah. The Taylor Swift thing's so crazy because she's so famous. Like, you don't know how famous she is, really. I mean, I guess you do, but
Yeah,
she's so famous that she's made her boyfriend's brother's wife super famous. Like, her,
right.
not even her husband's boyfriend or her husband's brother. It's
No,
literally her boyfriend. She's been with
boyfriend.
for a
Yeah,
year and a half, and her boyfriend's brother is now the face of the NFL because of her. Like,
yeah.
he's taken and ran with it. He obviously is charismatic, but come on, he's literally in every commercial. He's got the
He's
biggest
everywhere.
podcast now with his brother. And now
Yeah.
his wife has like this massive podcast that was, I think, the second most listened to or something.
Really.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's insane that the Taylor Swift effect. She's literally making people famous and rich. Just it's insane.
It's and honestly, man, like it's, and it was funny last week on the, or was it 2 weeks? Was there 4 games last week? No, it's just the two. 2 weeks ago when there was 4 games on, and so the Saturday night I went to a buddy's place to stop by, and another, you know him, I won't mention his name, owns a dock bar that just dropped that hit. So anyway, we're in the room, and his wife and his like 8-year-old daughter are there, and he asked me, he's like, "Who you cheering for in the game?" I'm like, "You know what, dude? As long as the Chiefs lose, I don't care." And the scorning that I got from his wife and the 8-year-old daughter, who is an absolute fireball, was unbelievable. I just get like this dirty look, and I'm just going, "Okay, so this is literally like they actually care about the Chiefs,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't know a safety blitz from like from like a safety meeting, but
Yeah.
they are absolutely obsessed with the Chiefs, and I'm just like, holy shit, this
Yeah.
phenomenon is unbelievable. And I can't name more than one or two Taylor Swift songs, so I don't understand the phenomenon. But when you see it
I
and you feel it, it's amazing.
yeah. I will say I don't Taylor Swift, I love all music. I don't get it either. It's like U2. I didn't
Yeah,
understand U2. I didn't think U2 was good. Taylor Swift has 3 incredible songs I like, and aside from that, she's a
yeah,
regular person. But yeah,
yeah.
she's enormous.
That's pretty good
Uh,
though. Like for to get into your genre and have three
yeah,
songs, like that's
yeah,
actually a lot, right? Like when you think
yeah.
about it.
No, I mean she's great, but I just can't believe how enormous she is. She's literally the most famous person on earth.
Yeah,
Uh,
literally, it's
well,
unbelievable. So when people like you and Chiefs fans argue like, oh no, that has nothing to do with it. It's like, come on, man. NFL's a business, and with Taylor Swift around, business is booming.
sure is. I quickly went on Gemini, which is AI, which I know you love to use. But
Yeah,
they said, I mean, this isn't breaking news, but I wanted numbers, but AI just said it significantly increased interest among female viewers, which I mean, significant still is a ton. So they're
yeah,
saying obviously
it's
she had a
huge.
huge presence.
Yeah,
Well, back to the game. We got something huge I noticed. I think take out the rest, take out everything. That just how I think the Chiefs are so much better than everyone else was how many 4th and 1s do you think, or 3rd and must converts did the Bills have? I felt like 7 or 8. There's a few
I was
4th
gonna
and
say, yeah, I
goals.
was gonna say
There's a
exact same thing, 7 or 8.
And then the Commanders game, same thing. They went for 4th down a bunch. The Eagles went for a 4th down a bunch. So, and what do they do? A tush push, a QB dive, hand it off to a running back who runs into a million people, and maybe he
Yeah,
gets it, maybe he doesn't. So I saw that over and over. And then the Chiefs, I think, had 3. Like there was 2 third downs at the end of the game and a 4th down they needed. And that's all I can really remember that they needed. So first of all, they're not in these situations nearly as much as other teams. But instead of just, Josh Allen running in and maybe he fumbled once, but it got recovered. The other time, it maybe got it, maybe it didn't, but he gave the refs the chance to make the call. On the 4th and 1, the Chiefs make calls that you've never seen before to guys you've never heard of, and they're going
yeah,
10 yards past the sticks of what they needed. Like the 4th and 1 was Mahomes running wide open for 6 yards and just diving
yeah.
down. It wasn't 1 yard. He literally ran for 6 yards untouched until he dove. The other
The one thing
one
I would
was
challenge
like,
you though, yeah,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt. One thing I would challenge you on is it is plays we've seen before. It's sprint right option. Like it's
yeah,
like every time he just runs right, and
uh,
either somebody's wide open in the flats
mm-hmm.
or he just runs it. Like
Yeah,
it is the same. He does do the same thing, and people still can't figure it out. It's awesome.
yeah. And then the other ones, he went the other way, and again, it was kind of always like an option where you can run if you want, but someone was
Yeah,
wide open. It was a running back once, and then their second string tight end the other time, completely wide open, and they get 16 yards when they needed 3.
yeah,
It's just insane. Where everyone else is like, oh, we got to run straight ahead, and maybe we get it, maybe we don't. They're like, here we go, we're gonna get any yardage we need times 10.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's
It's
crazy.
wild, and the Bills just did the same thing, and you
Mm.
could tell early in the game they were tempting fate. I'm like, man, you guys are barely getting this. If
Yeah,
they would have, if they would have ever done the old, and you'd been calling for it for 2 years now with the tush push. If he ever like snaps it and then just takes a step back, someone's wide open, either in the flats or
Mm-hmm.
running down the field. And if they ever did that, Casey was so selling out, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the, if people aren't talking about it on that sequence. The second down play was a first down. Just an absolutely awful spot on Kincaid. B, Chris Jones is like in the left guard's lap by the time they snap the ball. No call. Which whatever. When it's that jumbled, like you're not going to call it. You're going to just he's just such a
Mm-hmm.
big smart player. You're just going to let him do it. But and then they ran into the exact same thing again. It's like, gosh, yeah, I know Josh is unreal, but at some point have a play off it. Like
Mm-hmm.
have a play off it. You could have been in absolute jackpot land if you ran something different off of that because they was no doubt what the Chiefs were doing and they had a good plan and they were selling out. So
Which, to your point, and we've seen in the past, is this where the Eagles, because they did it, the Eagles did what, the Philly special? Did they pull some sort of fun little trick play out of the tush push that they've been saving for the right time? Maybe.
they've tried a couple during the year, right? Like they they
Mm-hmm.
they tried a couple, and the one I'm wondering is you've seen a few times this year teams do someone will line up under center, and then the center snaps it low, like almost through their feet to the next back. If they
Oh,
can pull
yeah.
something like that off, right, and like Hurts, he goes diving into the line, and then Saquon's got the ball and he just runs around the edge. I mean, there's gonna be anybody
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
It's
I would
literally
love to
gonna
see
be
that.
right, like something like that. But um, talking play design, and I haven't heard a lot of people bring this up, but the next time you see the third down clinching, the 3rd and 11 by the Chiefs, it's such a thing of beauty. Like they have four receivers bunched to the left, and then P Ryan is to Mahomes' right. And if you watch the play, they snap it, and all four of those receivers run across through the middle of the field. And the poor safety who has P Ryan, he sees it, he knows it's his guy, but he's literally now having to run to the right flat and he's
Mm-hmm.
just I mean it's not a penalty, it's not offensive pick, it's just bodies everywhere and he's running
Mm-hmm.
through like 8 bodies at that point because they're in man coverage. And like just the play design is to
Mm-hmm.
call that on 3rd and 11, and you just know Andy was like, this is gonna be wide open.
Mm-hmm.
There's just because I don't know how that guy gets there, right? If they're in man coverage, it's I don't you're running through a mass of 8 bodies that are all running your direction. I mean,
Yeah.
it was such a beautiful play call. I'm just fascinated by some of the stuff that he pulls out.
And then, like you said before, it's kind of like, and if that's not open to the first option, then you've got four different levels of receivers, and then you've also got
Yeah,
Mahomes who will just run whenever he feels like
he'll just
running.
leave. Yeah, he'll
Yeah.
just do whatever he wants anyway.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Hey, okay, I got this. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so good.
so one of my favorite quotes ever was about, we've talked about this, but Mahomes' 40 time, where Mahomes' 40 time is just 0.01 faster seconds than anyone who's chasing him. It's like
Yeah,
the greatest.
yeah,
He's not
absolutely.
fast and then he needs to be, and you aren't catching him.
Yeah, he's just gone.
Uh, but yeah,
He's
I
gone.
think just Andy Reid is incredible. Just their play, everything you see, like fourth down calls all the time. The Chiefs aren't doing it. We've talked about it before. They're just
Yeah,
doing, regular football. Oh, which also, I mean, meant to bring up, Mahomes also screws coaches because how many? I think we saw a couple times in the Bills game where the other coach, the OC, or I guess the head coach, they went for it on fourth or third because they were scared.
yeah,
They're like, oh, we can't kick the ball back to Mahomes with X time left. So he's in their heads
yeah.
already, which is something else that he just kind of screws everyone with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something you're going to see a lot next year. I mean, you didn't see it Sunday because it was a beating, but you're going to
Mm.
see that with teams that are playing against Washington because they're going to be thinking, okay, these guys are just never going to punt. They're going to just keep
Mm-hmm.
going for it. So like if they're 4th and 2, you almost have to go when you're going against
Mm-hmm.
them. You almost
Yeah.
because you know they're going to and they're going to put up points and that effect that that's a true power when you're a quarterback like that and he can have that effect on the other team's offense.
Yeah.
That's saying something, man.
No, absolutely. Um,
Speaking of Mahomes, when do we get to get into your article? Because boy, I've I've got something to say. It's going to be
yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah. Also, the consistency. I was thinking that, like turnovers. I mean, the Bills, I guess they didn't turn the ball over in the game, but they almost had four, right?
He
And
should have
then,
had picks on the first
yeah.
two drives.
And Baltimore in their game, they had four turnovers, where I think the Chiefs haven't had a turnover. They had one in that game, but aside from that, they haven't had it for weeks or something. Like they just don't screw up.
Yeah, and so that was the first, and this will surprise nobody if you've been paying
Hmm.
attention to what the Chiefs do. That's the
Yep.
first playoff game this whole year where the team lost the turnover battle and won the game.
Hmm. That was only
It's the only
one,
time.
right? Yeah.
It's still, but still, it's like
Yeah.
every single game has been dictated by who turns the ball over,
Yeah.
and of course, if anyone's going to overcome it, it's going to be them.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because I mean, what the Commanders turned over the ball however many times in their game, and then the Chiefs just play sound football. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your Mahomes?
Oh yeah. So I read your winners and losers article, and I
Yeah,
gotta say, I love you're usually bang on, and you can make so many good points in there. But the idea that anybody doubted Mahomes is absolute lunacy. Like I can't believe that you actually put that in writing somewhere. Who's ever
people doubted
doubted him,
Mahomes. They were
dude?
weren't they? They were underdogs all
No,
last year in the playoffs. Everyone
last
was
year, but
saying, "Oh, this year,
not
oh,
this
they
year.
didn't deserve to win. They should have. They shouldn't be
Yeah,
15-2. They should have like 7
no,
losses. They're barely winning. Blah blah blah." Me and you know
but
because
it's
we're
yeah.
smart. Every head out there was like, they shouldn't be 15-2. They're barely winning. Mahomes has lost a step.
I don't know.
Blah
I
blah
don't
blah.
know. I don't think I've heard in like been clearly the best football player on the planet for years now. I don't think
Hmm.
anybody is underestimating Mahomes. I think you missed.
Yeah.
Like if you're wanting to say the team in general, fine, but not him. I don't. You don't hear anybody going to the game being like, well, the Bills got a chance here because Mahomes is slipping. I haven't heard that ever. Like that one. I read it and I'm like, no, this is just a classic Chiefs slash Mahomes fan who's got little man syndrome, and he's just upset that people are picking on the Chiefs because he has never been doubted, and
I
well,
think
in like
just
years.
this season, like he's just kept it in the garage. I don't think he's doubted. I think
Yeah,
I was more saying I don't know where I'm looking for it, but he's just a
yeah,
completely different person. He's foot
he
off the
is.
pedal in the regular season, and then
Uh,
playoffs
you nailed
come.
that from the start. You literally called it
Yeah,
at like the start of the year too. So,
yeah,
lots of other people have been saying it along the way, but like you called that like week one and week two. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
you know what? They're just gonna save him and Kelsey, and sure enough, like
yeah.
he's
Which,
he's too good.
mm,
You have to be up enough that those calls that you're not gonna get. Right,
mm-hmm,
like even you have a NFL head coach saying, "We know we're not getting calls."
mm-hmm,
So you have to be that much better because if you keep it close, he's going to kill you.
mm-hmm,
He's just going to kill you. Like if you give him the ball and they need to score to beat you, he's going to score. It's not a matter of, gee, I wonder if he'll get into position. No, he's going to. And
mm-hmm.
so to that level of play is just it's incredible. And
Yeah, that's silly. I also won on the Super Bowl. I won a prop bet on FanDuel for Travis Kelsey proposing if and when they win.
oh, oh,
Wouldn't that be a good prop?
can you imagine? Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Like the internet will break. Like the Instagram and is TikTok still a thing? Is that
Yeah.
did they get banned or
It's
is it
back
back?
on. No, it's back on.
Okay, I don't have any part of that one, but like
Yeah.
between Twitter like that, it would explode. It would be the most
Oh yeah.
watched clip of all time. Like the Swifties would lose their mind. There'd be parades in every city, not just Kansas City. There'd literally be parades everywhere. It'd be like this, she's getting married, and they'd be
West
making
Hollywood would be shut
floats,
down.
just absolute lunatic fringe everywhere. All these women would just be blowing up. They'd be canceling school on Monday. There'd be no elementary school. All the classes would just be full of boys. All the girls are home celebrating the engagement. It would be pure chaos. So I like that. I can't imagine what
Yeah.
the prop number would be.
FanDuel, get on it. I'm setting the line plus 230. This needs to be a prop bet. Will Travis Kelsey propose if they win the Super Bowl?
God, that would just be mayhem. That'd be absolute mayhem.
Yeah. All right. Well, we covered, I think, most of the Chiefs, which we can circle back around. Uh, Saquon Barkley, I think, is a player of the
Oh,
year. I mean, I guess he can't be the MVP, but he has to be the player of the year.
I
And
think so.
where you've watched football for longer than I have, in terms of you can go back further. Like, is this the top 5, top 3 running back season of all time? In a season where like
Top one.
running backs are supposed to not matter anymore, right?
Yeah, I think top one. And
Yeah.
you know what? Especially if he wins, the only
Hmm.
other if you're looking at the combination of regular season playoffs, there was a Terrell Davis year there when they won the Super Bowl. That was incredible. But I think Saquon needs like 43 or 47 yards to get 2,500 for the season. And if the Eagles didn't have the tush push, he might have 30 plus touchdowns.
Oh yeah, right.
Right? Think of all the touchdowns
That's
that Hurts
crazy.
has taken from the 1 yard line. That those are almost always back in the day would just go to your lead running back.
Mm-hmm.
He would have 30 plus touchdowns between playoffs and regular season, and he's going over 2,500 yards. I think it's already the best season, and I think it's cemented even more if they win it and he plays, a huge part, which he's going to have to if they're gonna win the game.
And
But
how many times, even just in the last game, did they circle him for his blocking? Like there was 2 or 3 times where like, look
yeah,
at this block that he had.
yeah, huge.
So,
He's yeah. I mean, my feeling on the Eagles. I hate them. I can't stand the organization, and their fans are truly so annoying. But he's impossible not to cheer for, and really most of their players. I don't like. Hurts just plays hard, and he's sometimes has some games where you wonder what he's doing, but like he plays really hard. Their line is just a bunch of animals. They're like really good young players in the secondary now that they've drafted the last couple of years, and I don't know, they got there's a lot to like when you watch that team, other than a couple players, but that's going to be every team. It's gonna
yeah. And then I think also with Barkley, we've talked about it a bit, but my favorite thing about him was how he had the chance to break the single game record, and he sat out. He's like, "No, I'll let the young guys play," so he's not chasing stats. And then he had a chance to bring the single season rushing record, and he was like, "No," like he wanted to save himself for the playoffs. He didn't want to get hurt, and he cared about winning, not chasing stupid statistics, which is unheard of in this day and age. That he's just who wouldn't want to break the rushing record? I mean that tips to him as being, and even John Mara in Hard Knocks, John Mara, whatever, the owner of the Giants, spoke to how loved he was in New York. Just like everyone's favorite player, so nice, easy to deal with, and all that. So the fact he did those things, I also wonder. No one talked about this, and I want to talk with you that we didn't asterisk the rushing record. It was like, okay, but he's got one more game, and that's how he's going to break it. That's not really the rushing record. Like,
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's a valid point. But I think was Eric Dickerson's even a 16 or was it a 14 games?
I don't know. So there was someone before him had like less games too. So his,
I think it was OJ got 2014.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Dickerson's the record might be 16.
16. That's what. Yeah, something like that. And I also wonder if that played into it a bit too, where he was like, you know what? If it was a real rushing record, I'd maybe go. But it's like I don't need this asterisk record on top of the things he already, he cared about winning, which I think was huge.
I think you're right. I think that's just what it is. He just wants to win, and you can see it the way he plays. Like you said, he blocks his ass off, and he seems just like a great team. His teammates love him. I mean, he's going to be. He probably already is, but if they pull this off, I mean, he's the most popular Philly athlete since when? Like,
I don't know.
Who would be above that since Dr. J?
Yeah, I was about to say the only one I knew is Dr. J.
Right? Like Bryce Harper is hugely popular, right now, but it's in baseball. I think the Eagles are way more popular than the Phillies, and it'd be something. That'd be a pretty good city. I mean, you're popular with a bunch of illiterate douchebags, apparently, but like it's you see their mayor?
No.
You see the spelling, but you haven't seen that clip?
No.
She said it like a press conference last week, and she tries to spell it. She's like ELG.
Oh no.
LES Eagles, and there's kind of like this muffling cheer in the background. Yeah. She's like, she can't even spell. It says a lot about the city, and that's your mayor. But I'm not gonna go much further down that
road. Circling back on Barkley, and then speaking of the article, I think obviously we've talked about the biggest loser before, but when you have a fantasy football team and you let like Puka Nacua go. You drafted him, but he's like, oh, this guy's not doing anything. What was I thinking? And then you see Puka go off for just an unreal year. And you're like, every time he scores, you're pissed off. The guy won the championship. You're upset. And you're just like not happy every week because you're like, fuck, I had Puka. Or I know I had Victor Cruz one year and I let him go. And then he went off for the Giants. But Joe Shane, or Joe, however you pronounce the last name, the GM of the Giants, that's like his actual job and his livelihood.
Yeah.
How does it feel to watch Barkley go off for 70 every game, sometimes
Every
twice a
game.
game? That's like, oh,
Every game. But even
oh,
worse than that, man, is
oh,
and Hard Knocks captured this whole thing. He had the owner basically dropping
yeah,
every hint in the book, like, "Hey, dude, I
yeah.
don't want this guy gone." And then he says, "I'm gonna have a hard time sleeping at night if this guy ends up in our division."
Oh my god, it's
And
the
it's like
worst nightmare.
worst nightmare, worst nightmare. And I love listening before he went with Bill to North Carolina. I used to love listening to Michael Lombardi's podcast because he would have some inside stuff, and he'd get so upset in his high pitched voice, and he was like, the whole goddamn league knew he was going to Philadelphia. And this guy's out there saying, I sure hope he doesn't end up in our division. And the GM's not worried about it at all. He's like, everyone knew he was going to Philly. It's just amazing.
Oh,
How do you, if you're the owner, I mean, there's got to be a reason why you don't fire that guy for
yeah.
just for that alone. Be like, dude, like, I couldn't have made it any more. I appreciate an owner who didn't flat out say, like, you're not doing
Mm,
this. Like, he's let the guy do his job, but
yeah.
you can't drop
Oh,
many more hints than that.
no.
Can you?
That was so
It was
bad.
unreal. It was unreal.
I
And then now he's with your hated rival, and he's the greatest running back ever. Wild.
yeah. From that quote to where he is now has to be the craziest, not necessarily coincidence, but craziest thing in NFL history. Just, hey,
Yeah.
don't do this. And if he's with a division rival doing well, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
upset. Well, he's not doing
Quite
well.
upset.
He's fucking having the greatest season of all time.
Yeah. He's one of the best running backs we've ever seen now, suddenly.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, he might win a Super Bowl, so that's going to go over
Mhm.
real good, too.
Yeah. Oh, and also, that Pro Bowl safety on the Packers?
Yeah.
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 He's also an All Pro, by the way. Oh, he's the best
All
safety in
pro.
football this year.
Yeah.
So you let him go as well
Yes.
at the same time. So you let
But it's all
the
right because
best,
we won 3 games.
the best safety in football and the best player in football this
Yeah.
year. And it's like, all right, well, you let them walk. I get it. Money talks. You can't save everyone. But who are they spending on? I don't understand. Like, where'd the money go?
Danny Dimes, man. Danny
Oh my
Dimes.
god. Oh,
They paid like a couple tackles, like backup tackles, like $7 million. Like, dude, what you could have given Saquon $2 million more and he would have stayed.
oh my
And
god,
instead,
yeah.
they're just like, no, we got to spread it out a little bit here and sign Johnny Nobody off the
Yeah.
practice squad from the Bengals.
Oh my god,
Wow,
so bad.
I know.
And they have like a rookie wide receiver. They're not paying him money. It's not like they're paying Tyreek Hill $50 million or something.
Yeah,
Crazy.
you do have to say, I guess the only thing that probably saved him is he did have a pretty good draft. Like obviously
Yeah.
Neighbors, Tracy. I think they got a couple of D players that are decent. So they had. I mean, he did all right there, but that's the only thing that saved his ass. Because I mean,
Yeah.
when the first time they played Philly, Saquon ran for over 200 yards. The owner should have fired his ass right then.
Yeah, no
Like,
doubt.
fuck, man, I tried to tell you. Why you won't listen. Get out. Give me
Yeah.
your key pass.
I was gonna jump to the draft because you mentioned it, but maybe we'll wait. Oh, to show I'm not a full homer. I'm sure you saw it in the article. Mahomes' new baby. I can't stand his sister or his sister. I can't stand his wife or his brother. I don't think anyone can. Yeah, but his wife. But they named their new child Bronze, which I guess that's just a nickname. But his brother came up with the idea, which his brother's an idiot. So it's like, why would you do that? But
Yes.
their kids' names are Golden Ray, Sterling Sky, and all with like Y's. It's just like the white trash you can get. Sorry, Patrick. I know you don't listen to this, but it's
Oh
like
no.
anything with like a Y or like, it's just like
Oh no.
this is
That's
so
tough.
bad. Um,
That's tough.
so you got Sterling, Golden, and Bronze, and of course with a Y in their middle names, Sterling Sky and Golden Ray. It's just complete white trash.
Yeah.
But I guess Sterling, they were gonna. That's the middle kid's name. They're gonna name their dog Sterling, but then they're like, oh no, we gotta name our baby, which that's always what you want as a debate, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
for
that like
sure. For
we're
sure.
gonna name our son
Yeah.
Dodger, but you know what?
Yeah. Going with the dog instead. That
yeah,
makes way more
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Rufus
It actually
was
would
good
for
for
me.
our.
It would for
Yeah,
it probably would make sense for me because I wouldn't want the kid to begin with. So it'd be like, oh fuck, you get a backup
yeah,
name. I,
exactly. So,
That is awesome. Well, at least they're staying with a theme with the names, because I remember seeing that too. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then you hear the other kid's names, you're like, oh, I guess it makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I
But
guess
then who
it's
wants to
just
be
their
Bronze? It's like, oh, my name's Bronze.
don't
Sweet.
know. Because immediately what's going to happen is the kids that are old enough, who knows, this guy might still be playing basketball by then. They're going to think it's like,
yeah,
oh, they named him after Braun, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
something along those lines.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not good. This is kind of old news, but a loser, Sam Darnold's actually. Let's stay. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Where do you stand? I mean, I have Lamar as a loser in the playoffs, but I just feel bad because he just keeps on running into. Well, first, Mark Andrews
Yeah.
fumbles the ball away and drops. Like he led his team back, gonna tie the game, and then his best favorite pass catcher drops the ball, and I just
Yeah.
feel bad for him because it's not his fault. But then he did have two fucking terrible turnovers in the first half, so it's kind of his fault,
Yeah, it is, but I think he overcame it. And
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that nobody, and I know I think you were of the same mind as me, is everyone's all over Andrews. It's like there was a minute and a half left, and that would have
Mm-hmm.
tied the game. And Josh Allen would have had a minute and a half, and he was
Yeah.
doing what he wanted against that defense. It's not
Yeah.
like, right? It's not like he just flat out just dropped it. In fact, I think if you look at the context of the game and the play, Kincaid not coming down with that almost freak show play was almost worse, because
Mm-hmm.
that was like fourth down, could have kept the ball. Josh, he threw up a prayer, right? It would have been lucky as hell, but he still
Mm-hmm.
went through his hands. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's fair to name either one of them a loser.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who you're up against. And in fact, I just saw a cool stat today of quarterbacks that basically have that guy right in the
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. So Josh now 0-3 against Mahomes. I'm trying to remember them all. Phil Rivers was 0-3 against Brady. Brett Favre was 0-3 against Aikman. Dan Marino was 0-3 against Jim Kelly. So this is just, sometimes it's just
Mm-hmm.
timing, right? Like who knows how many more wins or different teams would win playoffs, or how many things are changed just when you have somebody like Brady or Mahomes that's just dominating all the time, and these other guys just never get their chance. So
Yeah.
losers,
And
I think it's strong. I think Lamar,
yeah.
like, yeah, he's had playoff failures, but I think he played well enough to win the game. He just, he had a couple of mistakes early, but he brought him back from that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had because the article is called "Winners and Losers," so I've got them under the loser category with Josh
Yeah,
Allen and Lamar Jackson. But it wasn't losers because they're losers in this point. I'm like, I just feel bad for them because to your point, if they were just in the NFC, they'd be in like 2 to 4 Super Bowls each. They
yes,
just
absolutely,
gotten so
absolutely,
unlucky.
right. Like the best quarterback in the NFC right now is probably a rookie, and
Yeah.
yeah, if Lamar wasn't there, yeah, for sure, or Josh, they'd
Hmm.
be them versus Mahomes. But you know what? It's just the way timing works sometimes, and
Hmm.
they're gonna have to figure out a way to get past it, because it's not like Mahomes is old, right? The dude's not even
Yeah.
30 yet, so they're gonna have to find a way, and
Yeah.
yeah, be
And
interesting.
we need to come up with a name for this. It can't be the Lamar Jackson, but I feel bad. So Lamar's in this realm of now he can be just a superhero all regular season, but people are just going to be like, and unfairly, well, he can't do it in the playoffs. Well, and then he can't prove himself again till next January or next.
To
Yeah,
the
I guess it'd be
playoffs.
next January. Yeah, it just
Yeah,
sucks for
yeah,
him. He can just be this. And so the other people I have in the same ilk, which has to be an awful fucking place to be, are the Detroit Lions and Sam Darnold. Because now you can just
yeah,
be incredible, but you've got this dark cloud hanging over you that is just
yeah.
like it's almost like what's the point? It's like okay, cool, we won the regular season, we won the conference, yay! And then you
What's it
literally
gonna
only
be?
have a 3 hour moment in time that can just ruin your entire year.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Oh,
yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it's a cruel game. Only one team gets to win, right?
mm-hmm.
And you know, right now it seems to be the same team all the time, so that's making
Yeah,
it hard on everybody. So I don't know. I think that on Lamar, it was fair to say that, with the playoff failures before this year. But I
mm,
don't know. I think he played well enough in the playoffs this year. I don't necessarily think you can put that on him anymore.
yeah. Um, another loser I've got. I don't know if two white guys or whitish guys can say this, but the Rooney Rule seems really fucking stupid these days. It's just like how awkward it must be the most awkward thing in sports if you're an African American coach that
Yeah.
goes into an interview when the whole world knows, like let's say, I mean, the Patriots, I think, probably went through the Rooney Rule because of who they fired.
Yeah.
But like the whole world knew Variable was going to get picked. So imagine you take out their past coach, Mayo. So now they're just bringing in an African American and be like, "Hey, thanks."
Two.
Yeah.
Do you remember the names?
No.
Byron Leftwich.
Okay.
And Pep Hamilton, who I didn't even know was still coaching. I thought he was back in college somewhere. And
Oh.
it sucks. You're right. It sucks. But the league is doing the team's doing what's required, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these guys must go in there knowing, okay,
everyone has to be so awkward. Like everyone knows what it is, right? You have to be like, "Hey,
right.
how are you? Cool.
Yeah.
So we're considering you for the job."
Yeah, for sure we are. Wink,
It has
wink.
to be more racist. I think it's more racist than not hiring.
Well, I guess it depends on the mindset of the coach going in. If they go in and say, okay, well, you know what, at least I'll just use this as practice for my next interview. That might be a real one, or in their case, to try and maybe I impress them enough they want me to be an OC or whatever. You have to look at it that way, but it's certainly not always working the way it's supposed to, because when you just recycle the same names and just basically to bring them in for an interview and then give them a ticket to fly back, like hopefully they're at least flying them first class or sending a PJ or something. A real bitch if they're giving them like an economy ticket and then here you go. Give them like a ham sandwich and a wrapper for lunch and send them right back to the airport. That would be tough, but
maybe it's that we have this thing in Costa Rica where you have to cross the border and you can get like a fake plane ticket to say that you did it. So maybe it's like that. Who's that guy that you named? The second guy the Patriots interviewed? He's that guy. He's like the fake
Hamilton.
ticket. Pep Hamilton's just a fake ticket every team uses. They're like, hey, bring in Pep. There we go. He has like a little check he's cut by everyone that everyone pitches into, the Pep pool. And they're like, all right, they reject him off. He knows what it is.
Living life on a beautiful beach somewhere. Close. He's just doing these things on Zoom. He's like, yeah. All right, I'm with you. We'll say I'm there. You're sending me how much money? Yeah, okay, deal.
Yes.
I'm good. Perfect. I'll just stay right here on this beach, and you guys can just use that. So, I don't know what the answer is, man. But it's hard to blame the team too when you know it's the guy you want, right? Like if you don't know it's the guy you want and you're not doing open interviews, then I think that's why the rule's there. But if you know, like everyone and their dog knew when Mayo got fired that quick that they were wanted variable, like that was the goal. So
exactly,
going through the interviews as a formality, and they treated it like a formality.
Yeah, well, and I think it served its purpose at the start, right? Because obviously it was getting minorities into the room that they weren't into before. But now we've got like what the Lions DC couldn't get hired fast enough. He was like instantly with the Jets.
Yeah.
So I hope they fucking. I was gonna tell you what. I hope that there's fucking 2 white guys got interviewed before you get that job, or I'm gonna be pissed off.
No, you're not. You're so full of shit. You won't care at all. You're gonna pretend you are, but you won't give a shit.
But and like I think the best coach in college football, your Notre Dame coach, he's like unreal. Yeah. He had my favorite play of the year. I just feel now maybe the rule served its purpose at the start, and now I think there's enough African Americans doing really well. And I think enough white coaches have been fucking terrible the last 2 years or 3 years. I think we all know that everyone is hireable and fireable in this day and age.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're starting to see more and more where hopefully that color part doesn't matter, because there's been some pretty poor shit coaches out there lately, and most of the ones that have done a real bad job outside of Jerome Mayo have been like your classic come up through the system, homegrown, white coaches. So
my favorite loser of the weekend was Austin Eckler's small penis size.
Oh boy.
Tom Brady just made it a point. If anyone listened to the game, Eckler like fumbled the ball, which I thought he never fumbled, but Tom Brady said, "Oh yeah, it fumbles all the time."
Yeah.
Like I don't know, Eckler maybe made a pass at Giselle at some point or what.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady was like, "Yeah, you know what? Austin Eckler is known to have really small hands, and it's just
really
little."
Like,
whoa, what?
Really
when did we ever say that? I've never heard that in the history of the NFL.
No. No, other than you hear about Kenny Pickett, but like that's actually diagnosed at the combine. They measure the quarterback's
Yeah.
hands, and it's a big thing. But yeah, for just right in the broadcast, I was like, "Whoa, Tommy, he's starting to
Just
feel
out of
himself a
left
little bit in the
field.
booth." Yeah,
Yeah.
and like,
You
yeah,
know,
you know what
you
comes with small hands.
yeah. You know what, KB? I was at the Pro Bowl
Yeah,
6 years ago and I saw Austin in the shower, and I tell you what.
yeah, yeah. I tell you what, yeah, the
Uh
small hands correlation is real, which kind of
yeah.
surprised me.
All right, well, Super
Speaking of
Bowl.
though,
Oh
hold
yeah.
on. Speaking of, compared to like the start of the year to now, Brady's getting pretty good in the booth.
Yeah,
Like
well, yeah,
he
I mean, I
struggled
think
at the
he's good.
start. I
Mm.
think he's actually starting to add some better insight in that, and I think it's been in the playoffs. It's awesome when you hear like him talk about playoff experiences because who would know
Yeah.
better than him? Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he's been doing a good job, and Romo, who I thought was kind of like a bit of a corpse in the booth for
Mm.
a few years there, the last couple of years, he's been great lately.
Yeah.
You wonder
Yeah.
if it's because Tom's there and improving, and he's got to go back to being. No, I'll be the quarterback who's the best color guy. Thank
Yeah.
you very much, because he's been fantastic.
People said that about Aikman too. Aikman's been like unreal the last year or
Aikman's my
two.
favorite. Yeah,
Mm.
Aikman's still he'd be number one for me, and I think then Greg Olson. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm impressed at how much Tom's improved compared to the start of the year.
Yeah. Speaking of starter of the year, just changing worlds and pie in my face or egg, whatever.
Yeah,
Jane Daniels from game 1 and 2 to now was just the biggest change in the history of football. It was like he
it's
couldn't even remember, he
insane.
couldn't even slide. They
Yeah,
ruined for anyone out there. I think I still did like okay in my sports betting, but I tied either Jaden Daniels or Commanders futures to a lot of my future bets, and he ruined like 6 or 7 parlays I would absolutely murdered on.
yeah,
And at the first 2 games, me and you were texting. I'm like, oh well, my bet's safe. This guy can't even fucking slide. He can't throw. Every
yeah,
throw right was only to a running back. He never completed downfield whatsoever.
for
Uh,
sure.
And I was like, we're fine. This is great. I'm very happy. I nailed everything. Caleb's terrible. He's terrible. Richardson's terrible. And then Will Levis is terrible. And then now he's just the greatest quarterback behind Mahomes all of a sudden. It's
Yeah, it's
outrageous.
nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
And
Which
then,
is and fun to watch, and seems like such a great kid
mhm.
too. Like that.
Has Bud talked to you about it? Like his VR stuff? Do you guys, where he's
Yeah, a
training with
little bit.
virtual
Like
reality?
I saw, I saw something.
So,
Apparently, he's huge into that.
so he's training at a 1.7 times click the speed of actual gameplay. And that's
Yeah.
what he's seeing. And he does it for hours. And he started it at his last year at LSU. And obviously, we've seen the jump he's
Okay.
made. So it's like, imagine you're going through every defense and every look, but you're seeing it 1.7 times faster than real life. And I think you see it just with him on like the bench. I don't know. He never seems flapped. He's not unflappable. He's
Oh,
just chilling.
yeah. So calm. He's so calm.
So
Which
I'd
would be
love to
hilarious
see.
because
Mm.
love to just put like your regular weekend warrior and just put it at regular speed and put the VR on them and see how fast people like
Yeah.
wet themselves.
Right?
Just full panic mode and just see they'd come out of there. Their eyes would be this big. Like, oh my god, that is so scary. And he's doing
Like
it
that Mike
1.7 times.
the Michael Vick experience commercial. Remember that one? The little kid in like
Oh, that was
the roller coaster.
yes,
That
yeah. That was a long time ago.
was.
Who knew that the
And
Michael Vick experience that was really going on would definitely turn out to not be suitable for television?
no, not at all. And I'd like to see because I mean I'm sure you're of the ilk, and I am where like playing Madden. I know Teddy Bridgewater talked about how he always played Madden because he
Yeah,
just learned defenses in a fun way. Like it was in his spare time, not as I need to do this for homework time. It was like, hey, I'm instead of watching TV, I'm playing Madden and I'm
yeah.
learning every single defense. And obviously it's not perfectly to scale, but now it is. Now like games are insane. So you've got like the
The
actual
list is insane.
playbook, less what 10% of plays. But so now you're seeing, okay,
Yeah,
this, that, and you learn your own offense in a fun, easy way. So I mean, Jaden Daniels is doing that, but now with a virtual reality headset, I just wonder. I'm sure it's gonna be leaps and bounds, especially if it is all 100% true that this is what has elevated him a lot. You know.
right.
Uh,
He's fun to watch. I love it.
mm,
I think it's great. Good for Washington. They deserve it. They've kind of had
mm-hmm.
that coming, and it's gonna be fun. Probably see him and Drake May head to head in the Super Bowl within the next 3 years, if I had to guess. So
Yeah,
I think that'll be cool too.
absolutely.
Some real rags to riches stories coming up.
What a crazy draft. We can talk about the draft here in a second.
Yeah,
Last year's draft was insane.
yeah,
Like,
so good.
it's going to be one of the best of all time, I would have to say.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
the
There's
first
some
round.
serious
I don't know.
dudes.
And
Good
I mean,
quarterbacks.
even
Yeah,
JJ
ridiculous
McCarthy hasn't even
receivers.
played yet. And he might be,
Right.
yeah, the receivers are insane.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Some
um,
good DBs. It's going to be. Yeah, that's a fantastic draft. Looking like it's going to be much better than this year's, but I guess
yeah.
until they play, you don't really know.
Who, speaking of the draft, who do you want at 4th overall for the Patriots? And then who do you think will go 1, 2, 3, 4?
Who I want is Abdul Carter. I
Hmm.
don't think it's going to happen. Like I just the hope that I have is as you go through the process, the combine, the workouts, is that at least two of the quarterbacks just jump up, right? Like
Hmm.
if Ward and Shitter just blow someone away, so that two of the teams in front of the Patriots take a quarterback, then we have a chance, to get Abdul Carter.
Hmm.
If not, then Mason Graham, the D tackle from Michigan, or Jack Campbell, the
Hmm.
if Jack Campbell, the problem is he looks like such a good player, but then when everything you read, they're saying that he's might be more of a guard in the NFL, and you can't pick a guard at 4. So if you think he can be your left tackle, then I'm totally okay with that too. But um,
See, you like him over Will Campbell.
yeah, sorry, Will
You
Campbell,
like,
the LSU.
okay.
Yeah, sorry, not Jack. Yeah, the
Well,
LSU
because
left tackle.
there's a Jihad Campbell from where is he from? Alabama. So I was like, oh, but he's a linebacker.
Right.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, sorry. Yeah,
yeah, Will Campbell.
the left tackle. So
Mm.
that would be the choice. I think if it's not Carter, then even to trade down a few spots and get some more picks, and then just pick up the best O lineman or D lineman, I'm all board there too. But you see some people saying maybe Travis Hunter or that receiver from Arizona. I don't want any part of that. I don't. They've made so many bad picks at receiver. I don't want to see them waste a top 5 pick at it.
I was gonna say
It's
this might
just
be your chance to finally kick the jinx, is get Travis
no.
Hunter, and there you
It's
go.
not worth it. We've proven over and over again we can't draft receivers. Got to go and just trade for one or sign one, and yeah, no more, no more. I've had enough. There's just too many times when Lad McConkey got like 200 yards against him, and like the GM should have been fired then on the spot. He should
Yeah.
he traded out of the spot where they took him and took two receivers that have like 100 yards combined on the season, and he got 200 yards against us in a game. Like, no more drafting receivers. Just maybe sure later in the draft you want to take a flyer on someone. I don't care, but no more high picks on receivers.
I mean, because you could have your little reverse Troy Brown, where Troy Brown played a little safety. He can be like Troy
Well,
Brown on steroids. It'd be great. Uh,
fine if they think that that's the case, and Hunter plays full time DB and then some
yeah.
spot on offense. Okay,
Uh,
I'm listening, but
yeah.
not as a receiver.
Could this be a year? Was it the Kenny Pickett year? Also, wasn't it? Who's your guy for Jimmy? Not Jimmy Clausen. The Notre Dame. Well, the year that quarterbacks don't go 1, 2, 3 in the draft, or 1, 2 in the draft. It seems like not one. I'm calling it. I bet on it. I'm
Yeah,
calling it. That's the year where quarterbacks slip. I don't know if it'll
yeah.
happen.
They always you think they're gonna slip, and then all of a sudden they just climb. There's just too much of a need, man. Like
Hmm.
it's there's even talk about other quarterbacks climbing up, that might find their way into the top half of the first round. I just yeah, they're a far cry from last year, but the need is just so strong with those. Look at the first 3 teams. I mean, they
Hmm.
have to have a quarterback, and one of them maybe gets somebody in free agency that is manageable, but
Hmm.
yeah, at least one has to go in front of us, and that gets us a blue chip player, I think, and 2 would be the ideal situation.
Yeah, I just think we talk about this all the time, where I think paying a quarterback too much, which we can get into as well, and then drafting a
Yeah,
quarterback too early is just the death sentence for your team because it sets you back two,
absolutely.
3, 4 years. So now it's like, are you just going to take Cam Ward because you have to, just like you have to pay Tua because you have to, or you have to pay what was it that the top 7 or 8 quarterbacks, the highest paid, were knocked out of the playoffs by what, the first round? Half didn't make
Oh
it.
yeah,
Half didn't make it.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like the worst thing you can do is pay a mediocre quarterback good money. And I think the
for
second worst
sure.
thing you do is draft a quarterback just because you have to. Oh, we have the first pick. We have to pick Cam Ward. It's like, all right, well, then you want to be mediocre for 3 more years? Like, you know what? Fuck, is Tennessee really going to do this? Didn't they do this the last 2 quarterback drafts in a row? Because they took what's his name, Malik Willis, and then they took Will Levis. It's like, haven't you learned? Just don't take a quarterback because that's your pick, and you have to take a quarterback.
Well, but I think those are both second round guys, though, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess so. But still, was Malik like But
Still,
I mean,
you can't go in thinking that Will Levis is your quarterback. That's not a thing.
That's not ideal. No, that's definitely not a
No,
thing.
he's garbage. That's not happening. So
I wonder
that's
what free agents are out
that's
there.
wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Well, Sammy D.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which
I don't really know.
The Vikings at worst have to franchise him and then see what we can do and then trade him, right? You can't trade him at his lowest value right now, surely. Or you can't let him go. I think he's an asset that you have to sign if you have the ability to sign him. And
yeah, I mean, the roster is good enough. I think you got to keep him, and then you see what you have with JJ, and if not, then he's there.
That's actually
it sucks.
A point I wanted to talk about. We don't see it in the NFL enough. It must just be how the salary cap is, but like I feel like the NBA and soccer does this very, very well, but the NFL doesn't consider players as an asset. Where it's like Barkley, for instance, soccer you would never just let Barkley go. You would sign him or trade him mid-season. Like soccer teams always get rid of that asset in advance. Whereas like the NFL is just like, oh no, we'll just let Barkley go and get nothing for the best player in football this year. It must be something, obviously, like smarter people than us, but I just don't understand
they get
how
comp picks, right? There's the compensation picks that you get, but even at the most that you can get is a third rounder. So and I don't know what the formula is to decide that, but it has something to do with who you lose, who you sign, everything else. But like literally the most, even if the Giants signed nobody last year, the most they could get is a third rounder, which is after the third round, by the way. So we're talking, picking the hundreds. So at least there's something, but yeah, to your point, you're not getting value for it.
Yeah, like just letting the guy walk, which I guess in soccer you actually get paid by another team as well. So I guess that's probably which makes it a little bit different. But still, and I guess also Saquon would have to say, okay, I agree to this contract. But yeah, I mean, why wouldn't the Giants say, Saquon, you know what, you want this contract that's $60 million? We may trade you, but we'll sign you. And if we can't find, I guess we keep you. But ideally, we find someone we can trade you to and get some value back. I don't know. It's dumb.
It's an interesting dance. But I think the quarterback thing, it's gotta. I keep thinking it's going to happen, and then it doesn't. These teams have to stop giving huge contracts to these mid guys. Like it's a death sentence. Like, the Dolphins giving Tua $55 million, and
it's insane.
Jags giving Lawrence $50 million. Like, it's an absolute death sentence. If they're not, Joe Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen, fine. You can't pay them enough, right? You literally, the Chiefs have a great deal. Mahomes is fine, but if you were to go into them right now and be like, look, I want $70 million, they would have to say yes, and it would still be a smart contract. But to pay these other guys that are just mids $50 million, like it's nuts. It's nuts, and it's. I think it's worse than wasting the draft pick. Worse.
Yeah. And you have to go soon. Don't let me forget about the college football playoff. But staying on salaries, I sent you the thing about the college football player. Who was it? OSU, the receiver, was offered like $5 million.
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. So we see it in baseball, which I mean, I've kind of said about this for some time. I said it when the Mavericks did it, and I think he did this on purpose. But Mark Cuban, when he signed Porzingis and then he drafted Luka, I thought it was genius because we saw it with Houston when they had Yao Ming, and it was like China viewership through the roof. They're making all this crazy international money. Obviously, with the Dodgers, they signed what's his name? Help me out here. Ohtani, to his ridiculous contract, but they know it's going to come back through all the money he's going to make. So college football, it's like you couldn't. If it was Joe Burrow back when he was transferring and if you could pay players there, I mean, you just pay him anything he wants because he's going to bring in $40 million for you this year if you make it to the national championship and the viewership and everything else comes. So I wonder where we're going to see this Dodger phenomenon, which is also soccer does a similar thing as well. But the Dodger phenomenon go into college football where it's like, hey, you know what? pay this dude, pay this QB 15 million, 20 million. I don't care because he's going to bring 40 million into the school,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, with the college thing, man, I think there is some of that, but how long does it last? Like, I just
yeah.
don't understand how long. Yeah, sure, they're bringing a little bit of money in, but like, how long can they keep paying out 20-30 million dollars a year? I
I
mean,
don't know.
like, do these boosters line up every single year to throw $2 million at the program? It just seems wild to me that. I mean, I get that the money's going to be there up front. Everyone's excited. Oh, hey, I'm NIL and I bought this guy for OSU and we won a national title. But if you do it for 5 years in a row, are you going to keep doing it?
I bet so. I bet for a few reasons. Thinking on it, I think you probably get season tickets. You get to go to every function. You get your name on some plaque outside or whatever it is. And I
Yeah,
know Calais. This isn't throwing Calais under the bus. He donated to Miami football. I think their weight room is the Calais Campbell weight room or something like that. He's got something that he donated $1
yeah,
million over the next XYZ. But it's just he didn't do this for this reason. But it's a tax they need to
tax benefits, sure.
tax benefit. So I'm sure you're getting a huge these billionaires at say Texas
Yeah,
Tech are getting it's all going to come back in taxes because it's a charity, quote unquote, or
yeah, I
nonprofit.
suppose.
Yeah, and then you get name
Yeah,
on plaques. You kind of get to say you're like not an owner of the team, but kind of like I go to every
you're
function. So
you're a pretty big part. If you start dropping
yeah,
2-3 million a year into it, I bet you
yeah.
get to do whatever you want.
Mm.
Is the Calais weight room? Does it have like extra large doors and stuff like that so he can walk in like just
It
for like the
must.
largest human ever? It's like the
Yeah.
doors are 2.5 times what they would be for normal people, and it's like we just do this in case he comes to visit.
just in case he's got like his own little body shaped door that just he walks
Yeah,
through.
yeah. Other people walk through it. They're like, "What? This guy walks through this?"
Yeah. And it's crazy because he's so old. No offense, Glaze, but it's like
Yeah.
normally players now,
Oh,
like
he's gonna take
basketball
offense to
players,
that.
yeah, like players have grown. He's been in the league like 20 years. Players are normally twice the size 20 years ago, where he's
Yeah,
still bigger than everyone.
yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts. Is he
Mm.
gonna? Is he got another year?
He
What's the
has
thought?
to, right? Yeah, I was texting him like a little bit. It seems like he hasn't fully responded, but I think he should do. Who was it? Like the really respected guys, like they just don't sign until the end. Like just skip training
Yeah,
camp, be with the
yeah. See you in
family.
week one. See you in week
Exactly.
one.
Or even
Yeah.
maybe you wait until week 4 and there's an injury goes down and
Right. I think
Kansas
he's
City.
yeah. He seems like too much of a team guy for that. I think he would want
That's
to
true.
be right. Want to be there from the start, but you
I was
still don't
gonna
need to do
say
training
that.
camp. Like you don't need to do
No.
training camp.
Yeah, and I think I remember when we was talking last year, he was like, "Oh, I'll just probably unless like some really good money or perfect situation comes along, I'll just wait
Yeah.
till kind of the end of training camp or like sometime in training camp." Then I think he just got a good offer, and it was in his where he lives,
Yeah.
so that was I think the biggest thing. But yeah, because you don't want to be gone from like 4 hours from your family because you got 2 kids and
Yeah.
want to see them. But
It
yeah,
might be the angle here because really, like, what's he doing at training camp? He's just abusing hoggies. Like, they
mm-hmm.
should all get together from whatever team he's going to go to and just be like, hey, here's the deal. We want you to come play here, but we really think you should just come for week one.
Yeah,
Because then he's not just beating the shit out of them all training camp. They'd be
yeah,
happy. They could just all chip in a little extra money. Be like, hey, here's the deal. We're all gonna give you
yeah,
a couple percent off our contract. You keep that. See ya on like Tuesday in week one. Like we don't need you
exactly.
here just running our face into the ground all training camp. Thanks.
Yeah, and you also nailed it. It's like Clay is it's gonna follow up in the nicest way. Clay is so fucking annoying. He's literally like the nicest human being, and he's such a team. He's such a team guy. Like I
Yeah.
think he literally feels bad if he's not at training camp, if he's not mentoring players, if he's not
Right.
like actually there, like helping them get better. Which I think is I mean, I guess we might all do this in theory, but he's actually doing it. Where he's like, no, I'd rather sacrifice 2 months of my life to make sure the guys I'm playing with are better, so we have a better chance to win.
Yeah.
Because he's like the
For
greatest leader in
sure.
the NFL, which is fucking
Yes.
insane. I mean, we all say we would do it, but he's actually doing it. He's like, no, I'm gonna go to training camp because I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So,
No
but
doubt.
before we let you go, the college football playoff it worked. What was it? The 7th and 8th
Uh,
ranked teams played. So I
yep.
mean,
Yep.
so at least
A few
you know
hiccups, right? Like a few hiccups. I hope that they learned two
the
things,
seeding.
and that's it. Yeah, no automatic top four berth
Mm-hmm.
for if you're the Scrubadoo conference winner and then reseed.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if you can even do the reseed because I think you're taking away the fans' ability to travel, right? Like you knew if you were pretty confident you were winning your first game, you knew where the second game was going to be. Whereas if you reseed, you're
Yeah.
not going to have that. But certainly, I think if you just seed it properly at the start, and then you get rid of those blowouts in the first round,
That'll be huge.
it's an absolute gold mine. And yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Because like, let's say even if I guess ASU was over their skis, they played really well than we thought they would. But like, let's say ASU didn't play that good, like a Clemson ASU game, it would be not good on, but it'd be close. Sure, we know they have no chance of winning, but the game would be close. So you'd be like, oh, this is a good game,
Yeah,
even if
exactly.
it
Which is
wasn't
all
a
you
great
want.
game. Yeah.
Which is why it'd be competitive. So,
And like,
yeah, I think
you take
jackpot.
Clemson, ASU, and then you hit Boise and SMU, and now everyone's happy. There's no blowouts. Yeah, looks much better. Any Super Bowl? Super Bowl, the Chiefs are 1.5 point favorites. Obviously, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, man, I just don't see any point in betting against Mahomes with my money.
Yeah,
Right? Like
exactly.
I do think Philly has a shot. Just with Saquon, I think you always and that O line, I think you always have a chance, and their D line is good. But yeah, you don't make money betting against Mahomes. So I don't know. I think that's probably the short answer. One interesting stat, and granted, playing with a whole different level of talent, but Vic Fangio's defense has gone against Mahomes 8 times. Guess the record.
4-3.
0-8.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a trick
Yeah.
question.
No. Yeah, well, it's tricky because not one time has he ever beaten them. You would think 1 out of 8. And like I said, that's some down years in Denver, and then when he was in
Yeah.
Miami, so not the same talent he's working with in Philly. But yeah, 0-8. So that's not a great sign for
No.
Philly. But who
Well,
knows? Maybe I'll change my mind and sprinkle a little bit on it. But at the end of the day, it's just about going to a Super Bowl party and just betting on squares and other props and shit like that.
Can I give you a prop I love, and I don't
Yep.
understand why it is what it is or what happened? Actually, I don't understand what happened to DeAndre Hopkins. Is he hurt? Is he dead? Like what?
I don't know. I think like he's definitely slowed down, right? And
Which is
if you
fine,
if you
but
look at their he was always a contested catch guy, but they don't do that. I mean, if you really look at the chart from that game, I think Mahomes only completed one pass that was more than 10 yards down the field. Maybe two. Like everything else it's short, but it's slants and outs and it's guys he's hitting them and so they're getting yak and they're into open space. And so if you're going to do that, you're better off to get it to Brown or to Worthy, like guys that can really fly. So it hasn't the contested catch isn't really in their offense because they're too precise. So I think that has something to do with it.
that
But
makes sense.
right? Like if like I said, I'll find the chart again and send it to you. But yeah, I think it was he had 250 yards passing, and I think it was like 220 of it was yak. Right? Like
Yeah.
it's just he finds the guys that are wide open, and the ball's never behind them. Like he puts it out in front so that they can run with it, and the guys are open, and so yeah, if you're doing that, you might as well get it to the kids with the Jets.
Yeah. So that's going to be my prop pick because I think it's always going to be someone unheralded, and then the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs have an unheralded player named DeAndre Hopkins is insanity.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I can see him getting a tutter, right? Like I can see him getting a tutter.
His over under for yards is 15.
Yeah.
So I'm taking alternate line, maybe 40 plus yards and a touchdown. Chiefs win. There we go.
Yeah.
But a bet I wish we had the podcast before. A bet I loved was last week you could get Mahomes MVP of the Super Bowl for like plus 250 and Josh Allen MVP of the Super Bowl for plus 310. So you just bet both of them and you're at, I don't know, whatever the math is, plus 150 or something. Yeah. Beyond, like better than even odds. But of course, the Eagles could screw that up. But even now, if you like the Eagles to win, Barkley MVP is only plus 290. So I think
Ooh.
Jalen would have to be a superhero for them to take it away from Barkley, right? And Barkley would have to do
Well,
absolutely nothing.
unless he runs 2 in from the 1 yard line and then runs another one or throws another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's always that wasn't. Oh boy, someone's angry.
Oh,
That wasn't a
oh,
rip like that. That was
yeah,
like that. That's just the reality of it. If they get down there, he's getting the touchdowns. So
yeah. No, absolutely.
all right, I gotta
All
fly.
right. Sounds like it. All right. Well, we covered most
Yeah,
of the
there's
stuff.
chaos going on in this parking lot here. So
We'll have to do maybe one post Super Bowl with Stace. We'll do like a year in review.
yeah, and get into free agency.
Yes. All right. Fraser
Okay.
Podcast, Uncle Blaiso, neverland.com.
Peace.